A land of deep, ancient magic, immense mineral wealth, and abundant opportunities for mischief. Welcome to Adventures in Erethin. We enter Erethin at a time in history when necromancers are fighting for their right to practice legally, opposed by children who would like to keep their inheritance. On the open waters of the Irian Strait, a brig sails determinedly at near full sail, save only the topmost gallant sails. Being near the northernmost end of the continent of Erethin, the water is frigid, and the spray sent up by the digging in of the bow and the strong port wind chills the crew on deck. This ship, a merchant vessel known as the Osprey, has been sailing for 2.5 months now, having departed from the port city of Jordania, and is due to arrive in the capital city of Erethin, Visteron, in a couple of days. This ship and its crew have made the journey many times before, but on this trip they have a few extra passengers aboard. The crew is eager to get out of the cold northern waters into the more temperate climate of the Bay of Visir, where the skies will once more be clear. As it is, the weather is currently rather overcast, and the strong heeling of the ship is somewhat uncomfortable for those select few who are not used to sailing. Descending down below deck, much of the crew that is not currently essential in the sailing of the ship is huddled into a cramped space lit dimly with several oil lamps, around which people are attempting to warm their fingertips. They're anticipating a warm meal which is being prepared by the cook, Old Billy, when they all hear a loud thud in the galley, followed by a clattering of heavy metal objects falling on top of one another. The door to the galley crashes open, and a white, hairy creature is flung out violently. Old Billy appears in the doorway, his hair disheveled, clutching a pair of trembling rats in one hand and brandishing a heavy copper ladle in the other. "For the last bloody time, I don't want to see you in here again. These rats aren't for chasing, they're my pets."
But they look so edible.
Emily, would you care to introduce your character for us?
So I'm the little white fluff ball. I am a Felis, which is a homebrew race created by Jason Wright. And basically I am a sentient cat, like an awakened cat.
Puss in Boots.
Yeah, I am Puss in Boots, just much fatter. I am you know how like snowball cats are like white balls of fluff because they have like a lot of fur? I'm a ball of fluff because I have a lot of fat. I'm 8 years old, which means I am like nearly legal. So I'm like 17 in like human years, sort of.
It's very important to note the sexual maturity of your character.
Yeah. I'm a bard and I'm adorable, so.
A very good boy.
I am a very good boy, thank you.
Okay,
my name's Felix, by the way.
What's your character's full name?
Felix de Felicis.
Yeah.
Shout out to anyone who gets the pun.
What has Felix been doing on the ship for the last 2.5 months?
Just, using my tap shoes, making music, making people happy.
We're trying to.
Make some good friends with those rats. I would very much like to get to know them better by maybe digesting them. That would be, I think it's a great icebreaker. Yeah.
So when you've been using your tap shoes, have you been doing like full-on performances for the entire crew?
Well, I just constantly wear my tap shoes. There's no getting these off my feet. So
give me just
I'm a constant performer.
Give me just a general performance check to see just how rhythmically Felix walks.
Okay. Actually, I got a 9.
I mean, Felix is kind of like, you do not have your sea legs. So usually when you walk, you can be all kind of like tappity tap tap all rhythmically, but you're a bit more clumsy at the moment, and it's really showing in your
So
performance.
occasionally there's a tap where it shouldn't be. So really, I'm just doing some ragtime.
Just some improv, some
Mhm.
you know, fantastic. Okay, so the captain of the ship, Captain Samuel Wentworth, appears below deck. Now, Samuel Wentworth is by no means a tall man, but his countenance is imposing nonetheless. His beard, which has developed streaks of grey, is braided at the tips and cinched with stylish golden rings. He wears a thick leather coat, classic sailor kind of thing, with braided leather bands encircling his upper left arm and his right wrist. He wears 2 golden earrings on each ear and a number of rings that glint on his weathered fingers. And his face has been hardened by just like decades at sea. But his really intense blue eyes kind of soften as he sees Felix. He says, "Right, well, I think perhaps we should go up above deck, Felix.
Ooh, yay!
It appears you're annoying old Billy just a tad.
Oh, no. He's just having anti-fun.
I told you not to chase those rats, Felix.
But they're having fun. We're just playing chasey
Yes,
with mouths.
I don't think the rats see it that way. Look at them, they're terrified of you.
No, they're excited.
This one's near died of fright.
No, he's dying of excitement. This
I-
is happiness.
Either way, the result is the same. You're killing this poor rat.
But it's a great way to go.
He kind of like scoops you up and puts you on his shoulder.
Oh, yay, I'm an airplane.
And
Nobody knows what that is.
you're ahead of your time. And he climbs the steep steps back up deck, and you kind of have to duck behind the bulwarks as you go upstairs. But he takes you above deck. Okay, so that's Felix. Okay, so about a month ago, the Osprey docked briefly at the small city of Portsmouth, which was its first contact with Erytham on this journey. The ship stayed barely a day, unloading some cargo and replacing it with some new items. In the morning, however, one of the younger members of the crew approached Captain Wentworth, and they could be seen having a quick and quiet discussion on the docks. There were a couple of fleeting glances at a young elf standing some distance away, and an astute observer may have even noticed some very discreet gestures at various rings that both Captain Wentworth and the younger crew member display. At the conclusion of this discussion, Captain Wentworth beckoned the elf towards the ship, and he boarded with them. Sam, would you care to introduce your character?
Yeah, my character is Torok Strongdon. I'm a high elf with a cool background, a rogue from the small fishing town, and coming along for the ride at the moment. Not sure what I'm doing.
Okay. What does Torax look like?
So he's been in a number of scuffles. So he's got a couple of bits of knocks and bruises all around him, but he's a pretty secretive guy. So he's got a kind of a cloak on, almost as you could say like Assassin's kind of Creed style, with wearing a lot of black and a lot of particular bands, 2 parallel lines on his fingers and neck and all around him. But only some people know what really means the true meaning.
So some rings, some leather bands, that kind of
Exactly.
stuff. He seems like a very edgy guy. So what has Torax been doing for the last month on the ship? Has he kind of been keeping to himself?
For the last month he's been keeping to himself a fair bit, just doing lots of reconnaissance, seeing what he can find out about the crew and the members, occasionally using his light fingers to have a look and temporarily borrow some goods from some other crewmates. They won't know it's gone, so it's okay. And just really been keeping to himself and speaking to a select few, mostly only the captain and the young crew member you mentioned before.
Can you give me a perception check?
18.
18. As soon as Torax gets on board, he clocks a few of these crew members and he realizes that several of them are also displaying various leather bands in parallel fashion. Whether it's rings or earrings or things on their arms, around their neck. Quite a few of them have that sort of paraphernalia.
Really found your click here.
So on this particular day, just a couple of days out of Visteron, there's a middle-aged crew member, kind of a bald guy with some really scraggly sort of salt and pepper beard, that approaches you and he says, you've interacted a little bit with this guy before, on deck or while you guys are eating, whatever. His name is Marcus Angelson, and he says, Torax, we need to talk a bit later. I'm going to be up in the crow's nest in a bit, just come up and see me up there, okay?
Yeah, I say no problem. We can maybe play a game of cards or two.
Yeah, sure. So you can have that discussion with him a bit later on. But the most recent port of call for the Osprey and her crew was in Pagonia, which is the capital city of the islands of Borgia to the north of there, of the mainland. There, another passenger boarded the Osprey, a well-dressed elven woman. Captain Wentworth seemed reluctant at first to let her aboard, explaining that this was not a passenger vessel. But upon being shown an intricate golden medallion hanging around her neck, he relented and she was let on board. Carmen, would you care to introduce your character for us?
Sure. She's a wood elf, sage, and her name is Althea. Just Althea. Don't ask about a last name, she doesn't have one. She doesn't want one. Threw it away. She has really nice long copper hair. Shines in the sun. Yeah, it's the only defining feature of her. Don't know what she's proud of. And don't ask too many questions. She tries to be mysterious, but she fails. But she really wants to be mysterious.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she fails hard. She makes friends very easily.
That's a shame. So what has she been doing? She's only been aboard about a week, the least out of everyone. But what's she been doing for the last week?
She has been trying to find out why so many people have leather bands and where she can get one as well. They don't have that where she comes from.
It's just sort of the fashion around here, miss.
And I really want some. Where do you find them?
Well, you can just sort of make them out of whatever you want, It doesn't have to be leather. It can, it can be canvas. It can be just strips of cloth that you tie around your arms.
I'm a sage. I can only read books. I mean...
Aye, sage. You could just tie some sage around your arms.
Great.
It won't last long.
No, it won't.
Especially in this salty weather.
Yeah, no. So I'm faced with a dilemma, And that's really what I've been doing for this past week.
Come to think of it, I'm not sure if the leather bands will really suit you. Perhaps you should stay away from that sort of thing.
I don't know. I'm trying to go into a new fashion direction.
Some of the crew might think that perhaps you're trying to emulate their style, and it might not go that well. They might think that you sort of you're associated with people that you may not want to be associated with, and it's
Never knew sailors could be so cliquey. No, it's fine.
You look lovely as you are.
I want some leather bands, though. I'll get some myself, then.
Perhaps just maybe one on each arm? Just one?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We can sort that out.
That's great.
We have some leather lying around, probably.
That's all I've ever wanted.
We'll sort that out for you.
Yes.
Okay, so Sam, you kind of hang downstairs, you play card games with a couple of people, you talk to them a little bit, and when you look up again, you realise Marcus has been in the crow's nest for around an hour now. So you can head up there if you'd like to have a discussion with him.
I'll go and climb over with my deck of cards, ready to see what he wanted to talk about.
You climb up there with your deck of cards. Great. So you climb up to the crow's nest, and Marcus has a a flask of coffee there that he shares a bit with you. It's very cold up here. The wind is blowing. It's kind of heeling the ship over onto its side. And so up here especially, it's, you know, the further up the mast you go, the more you're being blown around and waved. So you've been on ships before, but not really in rough
weather.
Not like up here in the north. You spend most of your life, you know, south, in Portsmouth and such.
In the fishing downs.
Yeah. So Marcus just kind of stares out pensively for a while, and then he says, "So you're looking for work in Vistron, then?
Potentially.
If you're looking for work, you'd be best to visit the Black Barnacle.
Black Barnacle, I see.
Yeah, it's small tavern in the ports. Be good for people like us. So I asked you to come up here because we can speak plainly. You know, not the whole crew is on board with our sort of lifestyle. So it's good that you've kept most of that to yourself over this journey.
Only say when something needs to be said.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes that's best, isn't it? But well, something needs to be said. Just you best be careful in Vistron, right? Especially if you're planning on working there. It's not like Portsmouth and the places you're used to. See?
What's so different about it?
Well, see, in Portsmouth, the members of the varied trades, such as ourselves, well, anyone can sort of make their way however they please, you know. There was your guild, which, obviously, my condolences.
Yes.
But
Moving on.
yeah, for the most part, you know, anyone that sort of wanted to, you know, get in Portsmouth and make a bit of coin for themselves, well, there was no trouble with that sort of thing. You know, everyone just kind of let it fly. But you see, in Vistron, things are a bit tougher there. The whole city really is controlled by just one group of people. And,
who are these people?
Well, see, they don't really have a name. They reckon giving themselves a name sort of just makes it easier to find them, and they're not really into that sort of thing.
They're not on our side as such?
Well, I mean, in the end, we're all on the same side, and that's on the side of making money, you see. That we can all agree on. But the thing is, they've put a lot of work into this city, kind of, you know, ripening it up so it's good for business. And they don't really take kindly to people just coming in doing whatever the hell they want and just pissing off again. So, you know, if you want to do work in Vistron, you've got to make sure you pay your dues, you know, pay your taxes, so to speak. You might not like the idea of, you know, giving some of your hard-earned money to someone else, but in the end, it's best for all of us, because you see, they still maintain a certain amount of sway with the relevant authorities. You see, so you know, paying them to do their work really helps out all of us. You get my drift?
I get your drift.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess all I'm saying is just, you know, be careful for yourself and don't try to rip off the people that call that place home. You hear me?
No problem. I hear you loud and clear.
Black Barnacle though, that's good.
That's the place.
Yeah, good grog there, and people that are friendly to us.
Friendly's always the best.
Yeah, always. You guys sit there for a little while, kind of looking around, and you guys notice a couple of ships astern that are following you guys. And your buddy sort of looks out at them, he squints, and then pulls out a looking glass, extends it, and you know, looks at them for a moment, and then he hands it to you and kind of gestures towards them as well. Do you take the looking glass and look through it?
Yeah.
Give me a perception check to see how much you notice about these ships.
6.
These are wooden ships, Sam. They're sailing on the ocean. You don't notice a hell of a lot. You don't know what to look for in a ship. This is a ship. But something about this ship seems to not trouble your buddy, whose name is Jack, by the way. I don't know if you mentioned that. So Jack isn't troubled by this, but you know, he seems wary, yes. So he stares at them a little while longer, and then he says to you, "See those flags on those ships?" And you can see a couple of, you know, now that you know what you're looking for, there are some black flags on the ships with like red emblems of a sword with a serpent entwined around it. So both of those ships are displaying those flags. And Jack says to you, "Those flags mean danger."
What kind of danger?
Hopefully no danger to us, but we'll need to sort this out. And he starts to climb back down the rigging. Do you want to follow him, or do you want to stay up there and keep watching the ships?
I reckon I'll stay up and have another look through the little looky glass, see if I can see any more detail.
Cool. So you can see, looking a bit harder at these ships are smaller than the ship that you're on. They're only like a single mast
How
ship.
many are there?
You can only see 2 at the moment, but visibility isn't great. It's overcast, and then kind of the spray that's being kicked up with some of the bigger waves is obscuring your vision a bit further. At the moment, you can clearly see 2. So you can tell they're smaller than yours, but whereas the ship that you guys are on is just a merchant vessel, these ships clearly have guns. They've got cannons bristling out the side, and they've got a couple of chase cannons mounted on the bow as well. So you see Jack going down, and he looks around and he finds the captain. And from up here, you can't hear what they're saying, but you can see them. So Felix, Jack approaches you and the captain, and he says, "Captain, a word, if you will." He kind of glances at you. And Captain Wentworth says, "Oh, that's all right. Anything you can say to me, you can say to Felix as well. Don't you worry."
Yeah. I was making friends with the rats, and I'm going to make friends with you too.
Jack kind of glares at you and glances down at your tap shoes. Says, "Oh, all right then.
I practice late at night.
Oh, I've heard.
They're cool, right?
You've kept me up every bloody night of this journey.
Yeah, kept you up with the delicious tunes of music.
If it weren't for you being so close to the captain and such, you'd ended up in stew a long time ago."
Oh my gosh, we should have like a hot tub stew.
No, like
Stew
like in a
hot
bad
tub.
way.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
we're gonna chop
that
you
would be
up
so
and,
cool,
and put
'cause
you
you'd
in
be-
the stew. Like we're gonna kill you and put you in the stew.
No, hot tubs don't kill you. You don't get it. You would be sitting in this like hot water,
But it'll be
and
like
it'd be
hotter
so
than a hot
nice,
tub.
and you could just eat the chunks as they float
Like-
by.
Boiling hot.
That sounds great.
The captain just sort of stares at this interaction and says, "Right, well, that's enough of that then. Mr. Cosby, what is it you'd have to say?" And Jack looks at you guys and says, "Captain, there are ships astern." And the captain sort of just goes, "Right, well, that tends to happen on the open ocean."
How can ships be stern?
No, see, astern means they're behind us. See, the back of the ship is the stern. I've told you this so many times before.
Yeah, but stern ships really don't make any sense.
Felix, do not pay attention to anything I tell you about these ships.
Not really.
Felix, that really pains me. I'd like to imagine that you have an interest in what I do, but it appears you're just kind of along for the journey.
Like, I don't think it makes sense for me to learn a lot about boats, because all I want to do with my life is make people happy, and boats don't make people happy, boats make people sick.
What boats make me very happy, Felix.
So do these
I'm
tap
very
ships.
happy indeed. Look, okay, one last time, okay? The front of the boat is called the bow. The rear of the boat is called the stern. The left is the port, and the right is the starboard. Okay.
So boats have stern butts.
Sure, if that helps you imagine how a boat works, then sure.
I'm just imagining a grumpy butt.
Sure, okay. Let's get back to the discussion at hand. And Jack says to you, Captain, there are boats astern, and they're flying the black flags. And the captain says, right, well, that does change things. I'll give you that, Mr. Cosby. No worries. Would you care to fetch the flag from below decks and just swap them out for us? And Jack kind of nods and he disappears below decks. Arthur, just to get some clarification, where are you positioned on the ship at the moment?
The bow. Right in front.
Are you just doing like a Titanic?
I'm having a Titanic moment.
I'm
I'm trying to be mysterious.
Are you doing that on your own, or are you doing that with one of the crew members?
With one of the crew members?
Okay.
Is there a resident artist on board?
Give me. Okay, so I'd like to know how you explained to someone what you wanted to do, and how you persuaded them to do that.
Yeah. Well, I may have tricked them,
Okay. Yeah.
and I said, isn't that a kraken in front of the ship?
So you said this to someone that was already on deck, or you
Yeah.
went and grabbed someone that was all warm and toasty downstairs and brought them up
I grabbed someone from downstairs.
to show them the Kraken.
To show them the kraken, they were
Okay.
very interested.
Yep.
And
Well, as you would be, the Kraken would mean the death of everyone on board.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
not really something to be joked about.
But I did though.
Yep. Uh huh.
I had reasons, and then I kind of maneuvered them to the very pointy end of the ship.
Yeah.
And as they were looking, I gently raised their hands.
Oh, so you're not Rose in this situation.
No.
You're Jack.
I'm Jack.
Okay.
Why would I be Rose?
So you just gently raise their hands, and they are standing there, very confused. Just some like young guy who's like, it's his first year on board. He says, what are you doing?
Showing you the kraken.
Where's the Kraken?
Keep looking.
Shouldn't we get the captain?
No. The captain knows. Captain knows.
Well, it just seems like no one on board is really doing anything
No,
about it.
This is how we deal with the kraken.
Everyone seems very relaxed about the Kraken, but I've heard things.
It's a very friendly kraken. You've heard the wrong thing.
It's got like a beak that can just like crush entire boats.
Like a bird.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen birds? They're very cute. They like.
Birds
what
are
do you
the
want, a cracker?
scourge of the earth.
Kraken want a cracker.
Okay, so what you're saying is if we just have like a giant cracker and we feed that to it, then it'll be fine. It'll just leave us alone and that'll be it?
Well, if we don't have the cracker, he will just go away anyway. Actually, I think it left.
But what if he
already.
treats the ship as the
No,
cracker?
I think it's gone. No, I didn't sense a cracker. It's a pity. You didn't get to see the kraken today, but you should stay in this position.
It's gone?
Yeah, it's gone
Okay. Why do I have to stay in this position?
for safety regulations. Captain's orders.
Give me a deception check.
Ooh, 19. Let's go. 19.
19. This poor guy, Ty Cornwall, is just standing at the edge of the ship, holding his hands out, and he says, right, well, just let me know when it's safe to come down again, okay?
Absolutely.
Can I look behind me?
No. We
Just gotta keep
cannot
looking forward?
jeopardize the whole crew.
Okay,
This is saving us.
okay, just come get me when it's safe again, okay?
Will do.
Okay.
You have mine.
And you back away, and he just stays there as still as he possibly can.
Absolutely.
He's like got his legs spread, and he's like fully bracing himself on the front of the ship. Just like wave hits, and he's just like still staying there with his arms out.
Perfect.
It's honestly impressive how well he's managing to balance on that one spot
I'm helping
without
you out.
holding on to anything.
He has his sea legs sorted.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I like
he's
it.
fresh blood, but he's good blood. He's got his shit sorted out.
I could tell. I have that kind of sense.
Fantastic. So Jack appears a moment later, and he's got his own black and red flag folded up, and he clips the flag onto his belt, and he begins to climb the rigging again, back up to Torax, and continues on past you. And he says, "Can you help me get this flag down, then?"
Yeah, no problem. Let's get it quickly.
So you help him take down the old flag, which was really plain, no emblem on there or anything, just kind of a general merchant flag, just like a plain red. And you guys attach this new flag, which you see is identical to the flag that the other ships there are displaying. So it's a black flag, and it's got a red emblem of a serpent wound around a sword. He clips that flag on. Make sure it's all caught the wind and everything, and make sure that with the direction the wind is blowing, you guys can clearly see the flag from behind, so that the ships can see what's going on. And he crouches down, and he pulls out his looking glass again and looks towards the two ships that are following you guys, and just sort of waits a while. And he's just going to keep watching them. You're going to stay up here with him?
I'll ask him a question before I head back down. I'll quickly say, what else can you tell me about this? What do I need to know if they come talk to me?
About the ships?
About the ships. Are they coming aboard? Are they going to go past?
I sure hope they're not going to come aboard. That won't be good for any of us.
Are they?
These...
Who are they?
These ships essentially do what we do, but on the ocean. You get me?
Yeah. So they're much higher up.
Yeah, but... So, yeah, they'll... They plunder ships, they kill crews, they steal what they can. Really bad stuff. But see, with this flag that we've got on here, that they'll back off, because they don't attack. That's the gist of it.
So I start going down,
Mm-hmm.
Because that gentleman's on the front. I reckon I would just slide down a rope, and I just pull him by the scruff of his shirt and just pull him down, say, "Get off there, you mongrel," and go back down.
I was told to stay here for safety reasons.
Get down, back down a quarters.
How do you know you're not endangering the ship? You're not a sailor.
I just stare at him with my dark eyes.
Give me an intimidation check.
Great.
You get below decks. You've no business being up here anyway. Probably just getting in the way of everyone. Okay. Have you guys interacted with each other on the ship yet? Have you guys introduced yourselves to each other?
I think I would have introduced myself to everyone once I came on board. Just be like, "Hi, I'm Felix. Hi, I'm Felix."
Just like a formal handshake with everyone and everything?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe I've definitely worked out some secret handshakes with the bow guy.
With Ty, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of just felt that he's obliged to do that because you're sort of the captain's
Favorite.
the captain's favorite. Have you told everyone why you're on board with the captain? Like, everyone can clearly tell that you guys have a very close relationship. Have you told everyone why that is?
Hi, I'm Felix. My mum doesn't want me anymore, so I'm moving to my dad's.
Accurate. So Felix is from a small city called Felton, which is almost entirely inhabited by other Fearless, just like him. And your mother is sending you away for a few months, really. Just can't put up with your tap shoes anymore.
Yeah, it's summer holidays, and Mum was just like, "Okay, over the summer you're gonna stay with your dad."
Yeah.
Because the noise. Oh, the noise.
But quite clearly, due to the fact that Captain Wentworth is a human and you are not one of those, he's not your father, right? So how do you know him?
My mother is a literal cougar.
But does Felix know that at this stage, or?
I know that she is physically a cougar, yes.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So like the fearless equivalent of a cougar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Samuel Wentworth and your mother are good friends. Your parents don't live together. Your father lives in Visteron and your mother lives in Felton. But Samuel Wentworth and your mother are good friends with each other.
Well acquainted.
Intimately so.
Very intimately so. Deeply acquainted.
Oh. God. TMI.
But Felix doesn't realize that at this point, at least. So that's why you're on board as a sort of a favor to your mother, Frangelica.
Yeah. I'm on board because of my tap shoes. And I just like tap them.
Yeah, you got these tap shoes from your father in the mail, and you've just been wearing them constantly since then.
They're so great, Mom.
To the ire of everyone around you. Everyone hates that you wear your tap shoes that much. In any case, so you've introduced yourself to everybody. Althea, you said you'd make friends fairly easily, so you've introduced yourself to the others as well?
I tried to.
Yeah?
Because I wanted to find out about your cool leather bands as well.
Yeah. So what did you ask him about his leather bands?
Could I get some? He said no, I think.
I just said, go get some then.
He's not very talkative.
Yeah, not a man of many words, really. Okay, so you guys know of each other, basically, but you don't know each other that well, is the general gist of it. The flags have been switched up, and you guys wait for another good hour, and then eventually Jack comes back down onto the deck, and he informs the captain that, Captain, the ships haven't backed off yet. They're approaching even closer. And the captain looks confused for a second. He says, "But we've got the flags up, so surely they wouldn't try to board us or anything. That's against the code."
Are we gonna get more friends on board?
Felix, I don't think these are the sort of people you want to be friends with.
We can have, we can make, not a pillow fort, because there aren't many pillows, but we can make a fort
We just
downstairs.
sleep on old clothes and things, you know.
We can make a clothes fort.
I mean, we have enough clothes to do that, but I don't think it's the best use of clothes, considering how cold it is, Felix.
Yeah, but it'll be so much fun.
Also,
It'll be a
these
slow
people
adventure.
are very mean, Felix. But I don't think you grasp just quite how mean they can be.
Do they take all the chocolate cake? Do they have the last slice of pizza?
Felix, there's a reason we don't have chocolate cake on board. It was all taken by people like this. The point is, Felix, we don't want them on board. And I'd appreciate it if you didn't mention anything of the sort to your mother. All right?
Okay.
Just, don't even mention that we were worried about anything. The whole journey went smoothly. Everything
Well, it's not
was
very
fine.
smooth. I mean, we're rocking from side to side the whole time.
Just, you can mention that to your mother, Felix, but not too much else, okay? Just as a favor to me, you see.
Okay.
Okay. So if we have any sort of run-in with these people, we'll sort it out, but then don't mention it again to you. And don't mention it to your father either, because he'll just go telling your mother. He just tells her anything. So just keep it on a low down that nothing happened, everything is fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Great. He turns to Jack and he says, "Everything is not fine."
Can I
They
have some pie later?
Felix, we're almost in Visteron, okay? You can have some pie in Visteron. I don't know if old Billy really has any more pastry left. Well, in fact, why don't you run down and ask him, okay?
Oh, yay.
But don't chase the rats.
Oh,
No chasing of rats.
but
Please, Felix, as a favor to me, please.
So many favors.
So many favors, please, Felix.
Tapping off.
Click, 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 click. You go running off. So yeah, you guys, both of you that are on deck, kind of the whole crew has drawn their attention towards these ships. No one's like outright panicking or anything, but they're definitely uneasy about the presence of these ships here. They've all seen these sort of ships before and they know what they can do. So Captain Wentworth and his quartermaster, Miss Rachel Peregrine, discuss with each other for a while, and they are any of you trying to kind of listen in on this conversation, or yeah, you're listening in. You're listening in. Okay. So over the wind, you can sort of hear their conversation. They're sort of discussing the possibility of outrunning these ships, which won't necessarily be easy from what you can judge, because these ships are smaller than yours. They're kind of more agile, whereas yours is a heavier merchant vessel that's laden with all sorts of cargo. Speaking of the cargo, actually, Felix, you can, as a Felis, innately sense magic slightly. There's some magical cargo on board.
Is there magical chocolate?
Give me an investigation check.
Oh, yeah. That is a dirty 20.
Ooh. Okay, we'll come back to that in a sec, okay? Okay, so the two of you listen to Captain Wentworth and Miss Peregrine discussing this, and Captain Wentworth says, if we are to outrun them, we must unfurl the gallant sails. And Miss Peregrine says, Captain, the masts won't be able to take the additional strain. As you're well aware, we haven't had the chance to careen in months. The drag on the bow will just dig it in further, and that's if the rigging doesn't break clean off first. In this wind, it's just really not possible. And besides, the ship is already heeling so much. If we add the additional sails, I mean, we really could be in danger. And they go on for a little bit of discussing, and he says, I really see no other option. We can't, they'll be catching up to us in an hour or two at this rate. And I really don't want that to happen. Perhaps they have no, malicious intent. Perhaps they're just going in this direction. But you know as well as I do, Miss Peregrine, that they don't display their flags in open waters unless they're planning something. I say our best chance of survival is just to outrun them clean and just hope for the best. Perhaps if we did, lower the gallant sails, we could turn and so that the wind is at our backs and just have a full run. I know that's not taking us in the right direction per se, Vistron being southeast at this point, and the wind would be blowing us southwest, but I think if we can outrun them before nightfall, then in the dark perhaps we could lose them and we could start tacking back to Vistron, And they keep discussing for a little bit. Miss Peregrine seems definitely not in favour of attempting some sort of move like that, whereas the captain is worried about the ships. Both of you guys give me an insight check. 23. Wow. And Torax, what did you get? Is that a natural 1 I see?
No, it's a second.
Okay.
I'm just admiring more than the 23. 10.
10? Torax, to you, everything seems pretty cut and dry. There are these ships that are chasing you guys. You guys can try to outrun them, or you can not do that, and then potentially they'll catch up, and maybe some bad stuff will go down, maybe everything will be fine. Althea, you realize that there's something the captain seems to be sort of hiding, something he's reluctant to say. You sense that the situation is definitely dire, and that it is as he stated it, but you feel like there's some additional thing that he's weighing up that he's not letting the rest of the crew or you guys know about. Yeah. Is there anything either of you two would like to say or do at this point with the captain or any of the crew above deck?
Yeah, I would like to ask the captain why we gonna do what we're gonna do.
Well, to outrun the ships, of course.
I should say, is the cargo that important? We should ask him that. 'Cause it's the magical cargo that he's so worried about. That he'd rather not get there in time than to get boarded.
He kind of shifts uneasily, but very quickly hides his uneasiness, and he says, "The cargo is always secondary to our lives, Mr. Torax. If we can't escape with our lives, well, that's the most precious cargo we have on board. And as it stands, we have 57 lives to lose. That's a lot of precious cargo." Cut to Felix downstairs.
I'm sniffing around for chocolate, specifically chocolate.
So you've gone downstairs to find old Billy, but when you come downstairs, old Billy is serving stew to everyone kind of around the thing, and you see the galley door is ajar. What do you want to do?
Have the door be ajar. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, I try and slip through it without moving the door, but I feel like it moves just from the size of me.
Give me a stealth check to see if you can, like, very slowly open the door or, you know, slip through it.
Is there any... Actually, I'm not gonna ask. 17.
17? That's fantastic. I'll just roll something for old Billy, but he is kind of preoccupied at the moment. Oh, yeah. Billy got a natural 2 on his perception. You slip by the door, you kind of wait, you know, the ship is swaying a bit. You wait for the ship to sway to the side, the door swings open a little bit, and you just slip inside before the door swings shut again, and you are inside the galley. Okay, so you're sniffing at this point for the chocolate, right? And you've also got this sort of very faint, innate magical sense that's going on at the same time. Give me either a perception or an investigation check.
I'll do investigation. 18.
Nice. You very quietly kind of hop on top of the shelves and you're scurrying around there. You don't find anything on the shelves, so you drop back down again and kind of look.
Making a loud clang with my tap shoes.
Well, your stealth roll will cover that, hopefully. But yeah, your tap shoes aren't really doing you any favors. But the noise of people eating and generally being content at having something warm next door is helping mask that a little bit. So you go rummaging through some cupboards, and you're essentially playing a game of hot and cold with your kind of magical sense.
Do I have the idea that the chocolate is magical?
Oh, well you're sensing that kind of magical energy. Until you eventually come across this little package wrapped in brown paper, and just like touching it, you can feel this thing's magical.
I'd like to unwrap it.
You unwrap it, and the smell of fresh chocolate hits your nose.
Oh, I immediately try and eat it.
You want to try and eat it straight away?
Yeah, I'm gonna stuff as much as I can into my face before that chef gets back.
Okay, you stuff as much of this chocolate in as you can. It's delicious, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And you finish like half of it. The cook next door, old Billy, who hates your guts, we should add,
That's so delicious.
has fed everyone their stew. And he comes back in with the big empty stew pot, in one hand, and kind of shoulders the door open, shuffles back inside, puts the pot back on his stove, and begins clattering around and cleaning things up. And then he reaches for a brush that's hung up on the wall, and as he looks up, he sees this cat flying near the ceiling, and he just freezes. You now have fly cast on you for the next couple of minutes.
I like this. I'm still too busy with my chocolate.
You're still just eating it all?
Yeah.
Give me a perception check now.
15.
Okay, yeah, so Felix has for sure noticed that he's flying, but just doesn't give enough of a shit to stop eating the chocolate right now.
It's too good.
And old Billy just snatches the chocolate away from you.
But that's mine.
Give me an opposed acrobatics check.
Natural 20.
That's a natural 2 from old Billy.
Yes.
He swipes for this chocolate, and you just kind of like dodge out the way, floating
Superman
backwards.
fly away.
And you fly back out of the galley and what, back up deck? Or where do you fly?
Yeah, sure. Let's go upstairs. Yeah.
Upstairs, and old Billy is just crashing along behind you, trying to climb up the stairs as fast as he can.
I'm still like
following-
leisurely eating pieces of chocolate.
Fantastic. And you guys just see this cat just floating up from below deck, eating chocolate as it goes, and this just infuriated old man just come charging up behind him, just disheveled hair, and just like apoplectic with rage.
How far away are the ships at the moment?
That's right.
Holy shit. The ships at the moment would be probably about 2 kilometers away.
Okay, so it'll take me a few minutes to get there.
Yeah.
Longer than a few minutes, but yeah.
Okay.
You also got to think about they're also, as you're going towards them, they're moving forward. So
Oh,
it
true,
wouldn't
true,
take- It wouldn't be as long as walking, going
That's
2
true.
kilometers. It depends how fast we're going on the ship.
What is the
You are
relative
absolutely
distance?
correct. Relative distance is still the same.
Sorry, relative velocity.
Relative velocity is close to 0 because you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
are going at almost the same speed.
But I thought
Don't
they're like
forget how
gaining on
vectors
us.
work. Yeah, they're gaining on you, but okay, you see the captain shout out over to one of the guys, and he goes, "Rick, speed!" And then this guy just kind of leans overboard. He has this wooden rig that's like a kind of like a drum with this rope going around it and this sort of triangular wooden bit at the end. And he throws that into the water, and the thing goes spinning around. You have your hand up. Is this like elementary school or something?
Given that I'm flying, if they're moving, am I standing still and they're moving away from me? Because, like, technically I wouldn't have the same momentum as them.
I would the ship. You mean?
Yeah.
I would say that you'd probably be like keeping up with the ship.
Oh, effort. Damn it.
You're literally flying. There is close to 0
If you
effort
were to go to check on the ships, you then have to get back twice as fast because
Oh,
the ships
yeah.
are running
True.
away. So that's possibly not a good idea.
Also, just want to join them, go off some chocolate.
Instant death.
I'm going to go over to the ships.
Oh wow.
Okay, so you see this guy with you see the guy with his jig. The rope is unspooling from the drum, and he's got a little like a what do you call this hourglass things? Yeah. Next to him, and then he looks at that, and then when the last grain falls, he grabs the rope and he looks at the reading. He says, 7 knots, Captain. The captain kind of shakes his head and he says, right, well, we'll need to gain it at least a knot or two if we're to outrun them, or we're even have a chance of that. And Miss Peregrine sort of nods and says, yeah, if that's the strategy we want to take. So yeah, point is, you guys are going at about 7 knots at the moment.
How fast can I fly?
I believe fly gives you a flying speed equal to your walking speed. And yours is 25 feet,
25,
right?
yeah.
So you can fly at 25 feet per 6 seconds, which, oh goodness, this feels like some sort of imperial bullshit right here. Okay,
Times
20,
it by 10.
25 feet is going to be about,
A bit more.
So 7.65-ish meters per 6 seconds. So that's just more than a meter a second.
What's that relative to knots?
How
much is a knot?
One knot is 1 nautical
Okay.
mile per hour, I think.
Yeah, so roughly 7 knots is around 12, basically 13 kilometers per hour.
Kilometers per hour. And let's convert this into kilometers per hour by multiplying by 3.6. So you can go at about 4.5 kilometers an hour with your normal walking speed. You can use your action to dash, which essentially doubles that. So you can go about 9 kilometers per hour.
And
But
how
for
much
how
was
long
7
can she
knots
go
again?
that for, though?
And sorry, how fast did you say 7 knots is?
Like 12,
13.
13.
13 kilometers
So
per
I can
hour.
go like 8.
You can go like 9 kilometers an hour. And so if we're working with relative vectors here, if you're going 9 kilometers per hour towards the ship, and the ship is approaching you
At
at 13 kilometers per hour,
We're meeting
what
at
time do they
20.
both meet at the station? Yeah, so then the distance is closing at about 21 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
You would
And
be-
them only being about 2 kilometers away, that gives you, what's that, 6 minutes to reach them? If I work that out
I'd
right?
say 6.
Yeah.
'Cause I-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's about right.
Shit.
D&D is a lot of fun, guys. Maths is fun. Okay, so it'll take you about 6 minutes to get there. How much of this chocolate have you eaten?
About half, I'd say.
About half of the chocolate. That's a lot of the chocolate that you've eaten.
I'd like to now stop eating
Old
them.
Billy says, "This is very expensive chocolate that you're eating."
Yeah, I've stopped eating and now like full on Superman pose towards the ship, and I'm just like flying
Did you-
past Captain Wentworth and they're like, "See you soon."
You guys see this morbidly obese cat, who I think we established Felix is wearing like a white cloak that matches him as well,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So you see this
It's a
morbidly
white
obese.
furry cloak.
This morbidly obese cat wearing
It's
a
basically a
matching
cape.
cape, just like float up from downstairs. Then almost immediately, without a word to any of you, just Superman and just like zooms off towards these ships, just flying across the sea. Holy shit! This went off script so fast.
Is it too late to try and grab him?
You can make a grapple check as
Yeah.
as he passes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me it's an athletics check from you.
Yes.
And an opposed athletics or acrobatics from.
I think we both tried.
yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
did
two
athletics, you said?
athletics checks from you guys.
Okay.
I got 13.
I got 7.
7. Did you remember to add your athletics bonus
yeah.
to that?
I got a 6.
Okay.
15.
15. Oh, so 15, and you got a 13, including your bonus, right, Felix?
Yeah.
Okay, you managed to just grab this cat by the foot as it attempts to zoom
Can
off
I
towards
drag
the
him
ship.
with me?
Absolutely fucking not.
Feels like I'm holding a flag. They're just trying to, and then like her cloak in the back, his cloak in the back, and she's like waving,
Rippling along.
and I'm just holding his leg.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep trying straining against him. Be like, no.
Okay, so you've grabbed Felix. Are you gonna say anything or do anything?
I'd like to confiscate the chocolate.
No, that's mine. Don't take it. It's mine. Don't.
Okay, if you're gonna swipe the chocolate, I'm gonna say give me a sleight of hand check. Once again, opposed by your acrobatics or athletics. whichever is better.
Acrobatics.
7.
Well, wait, 11.
You managed to chuck the chocolate into like. It's not clear from their perspective. Either it's like a pocket in the cloak, or you're just tucking it into one of your fat rolls. It's difficult to tell.
I don't even know. I don't want the chocolate
I
anymore.
think from then I just pull Felix closer and then just reach into his stomach to get the chocolate. And I'm either gonna grab the chocolate or just grab his like belly and just hold on to it. So just I don't want to make sure he leaves.
Okay. So yeah, with a bit of struggling, you guys can probably. I mean, it's 2 against 1 against this tiny little cat. You can probably confiscate the
This
chocolate.
would have been so cool.
Okay, so you've managed to stop this cat from zooming off to the other ship. What are you guys planning on doing? Or did you just immediately see this guy having fun and you were like, this is dangerous fun and needs to be stopped before someone gets killed?
I quickly whisper to Felix, tell them you threw the chocolate off as I pocket it.
And so like, you can have, and I tell them you can have some later, and I pocket it.
Okay. Give me a sleight of hand check or a deception, whichever you prefer, Torax.
16.
16? Okay. And obviously Felix, you know what's going on. Althea, if you would like to make a perception check to see if you notice this shenanigans, you can.
Sure.
I'm going to make a couple of perception checks for some of the closer people on deck to see if they notice.
A 7.
You said you got, what, a 15?
No, 16.
16? Ooh, okay, a 16? No one notices. So they think that you've, what, thrown it?
They
overboard?
think that Felix has dropped it as I've just caught him or something. So
Gotcha.
They just don't know where it's gone.
Old Billy looks furious. And he says, that was very expensive chocolate.
It was very good.
Maybe, maybe if you punch his stomach hard enough, you might be able to get some of it back.
And he steps towards you, Felix, and says, this was the last straw. But then Captain Wentworth sort of just pushes him back and says, just, please, go. I'll replace the chocolate. Just go downstairs. Please just have some hot coffee. Just relax. We'll sort this out later, okay? And he glares at you again and then stomps off downstairs.
Have I been let go?
That's up to you guys.
I say I'm only going to let go if you don't go over and for a suicide run.
It's not suicide. They're so friendly. Look at them. They have the same fly bit as we do.
I think you should hold on to him.
Yeah. I tighten my grip and I say, if you go over there, I will throw your tap shoes in the water.
Oh, you wouldn't dare.
It's a bit harsh.
I will tell Frank about this.
Maybe you should just...
They would tear your shoes up if you went over there.
No.
Maybe you
That
should-
is how mean they are. I will not, but if you go over, I might have to.
I'm
Felix, I
legit
can't-
on the verge of tears.
I can't believe he just pulled a Draco Malfoy. Being like, my father will hear about this. He's the chairman of the board of this school, and he'll have you expelled.
Where is school?
And you'll have that oath Hagrid expelled. So not expelled. He's already expelled. Okay, that's one
Fired,
word.
maybe?
Sorry?
Fired.
Spoiler!
To anyone who has not read this 20-year-old book series.
Please stop listening to
I've
us.
only watched the movie.
Sorry.
Dumbledore kills Snape.
Oh no.
That is harsh.
You're a wizard, Harry. Anyway.
Okay, Sam, that one was too far. You can't just. That's like the whole plot point of the final book. Just. In any case, so Captain Wentworth and Miss Peregrine, the quartermaster, turn to you guys. They've been having a bit of discussion, and Captain Wentworth says, "Right, well, we think it's only fair to include you three in this discussion because you see, you three are just civilians, right? And I don't think it'd be fair to make a decision without considering the welfare and the wishes of you three, ye not being sailors and all. So, here are our decisions as they stand, right? Either we can lower the additional sails, which in this wind would be a tricky maneuver. We'd require extra bracing on the masts, so you'd have to help out with the, securing the rigging and all that. Retying the lines and the like. The risk is that if we don't succeed, we'd be doing serious damage to the mast or the rigging, and we'd lose a substantial amount of speed. I've already discussed with Miss Peregrine that this isn't a problem from the standpoint of the cost of replacing. Once we get to Visteron, we'd have money to replace what we need to do. But the fact is, if we fail, we'll be slowed down significantly, and those ships there would be able to catch up even faster than currently. But if we succeed, mind ye, we'd be able to turn, just have a full run with the wind behind us, astern, and we'd be able to get out of here a lot faster, and possibly even outrun those ships there. The other option is essentially to do nothing, right? And just to possibly allow the ships to catch up to us if that's be what happens, and to hope for the best. And if they have malicious intent, then we fight.
Why don't we just turn around and go meet them halfway and just go be cuddle buddies?
Well, you see, Felix, turning around is not such an easy maneuver. But it would also be a very bad idea. Well, you can't stress enough how bad of an idea that is, Felix. Just such a bad idea.
Is the flying still Castle Felix?
Felix still has fly for a little bit, yeah.
So I'm still holding on to Felix. So as
Just holding on to him like a balloon.
as Felix is about to talk, I literally just swing him out of the conversation. Out of here, and I said,
Yep. Nope.
"How many sales are there? Can we maybe put down only a couple and see if we can keep at their pace?"
Miss Peregrine says, well, at the moment we've got most of our sails unfurled, as you can see. It's essentially only the top gallant sails that would be lower on each mast. So it's only a couple of sails, but the extra force
Yeah.
can make a real difference.
And there's the real risk that they might break something.
That's the risk I've been warning the captain about, yes.
I don't suppose we could just like throw some cargo overboard and make the ship right up.
They kind of look at each other and they say, Captain Whitland says, throwing cargo overboard is perhaps not the best option. This whole voyage would essentially be null if we don't sell our cargo. But if that's what we have to do, we could recover from that, yes. What do the rest of you guys think?
I think we either throw cargo. We can't do nothing. I say
Yeah.
we either have to throw cargo aboard, off aboard, or we put the sails down. No, so like I'm willing to help any way I can. You just tell me what to do.
Okay, let's...
Can we lock this cat up in a cage first? I say, as I'm finally bringing Felix back to the conversation.
There's no need to be, aggressive towards the cat. I understand he can be a bit annoying sometimes, but his...
Captain.
Yes,
Captain.
dear Felix.
I read the other day. I read about this.
Oh, did you know?
Yeah. I have this picture book that my mum gave me.
Or
And
one
it's
in
like-
colour, is it? Or the black and white one?
It's the one in color.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's
about
cool.
this boy that learns to go really fast, and I think I learned something from it, and I cast Long Strider on the boat.
Absolutely not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the wording of Longstrider is you select one creature and cast the spell on that.
Oh, well, you see, this boat is basically a person.
I hope
Oh,
that this
Betty.
is not a controversial ruling, but the boat is for sure not a creature.
Wait, let me look up the.
This boat is 100% inanimate.
Oh no, okay. I can't cast it on the boat. Maybe if we get some dolphins to pull the boat. I feel like this
How
can
long
really
are-
work out. An hour.
Felix,
Oh.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that'll really work. Alright?
He's so cool.
So
You could have targeted
They
that.
could've
You
saved
could
the
have
day.
targeted that on yourself beforehand.
The dolphins,
That
this
would've
this ship weighs hundreds of tons, Felix, and those are metric tons because we're not savages, you see. So, getting a couple of dolphins to pull us along, it just won't really make a difference.
But dolphins are the ants of the sea.
What?
Dolphins are actually horrible creatures when you really look into it. Did you know that, Felix? Perhaps it wasn't covered in your textbook, but dolphins are despicable things. They kill small fishes. They regularly rape members of their own
And drown them.
and
That
drown
is
them.
true.
And when there are
Mostly bombers, actually.
When
Yeah.
Also the nice. I was going to say something really bad. The terrible dolphins of the ocean, the bullies.
when there aren't other dolphins for dolphins to try rape, they just pull the head straight off porpoises. That's the word. Not porcupines. Not porcupines.
That would be something.
And they just use those as essentially natural fleshlights.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Never a porcupine, Felix.
Yeah.
Old Henry over there can attest to that.
Did he get raped by a dolphin?
Okay, wait, hold
Or a
on.
porcupine.
How big is this ship? Like from top, from sea level to highest.
Okay, like to the deck,
Top
or
of
like
the
way
mast.
up to the
Way
actual-
up.
to the like right at the tippity top of the
In
mast.
feet, please.
In feet? It's gonna be about, like, sorry, I'm just trying to convert this back into feet.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna
It's gonna be at least 600 feet.
Okay, how about just the boat bit? Any chance it's like no larger than 15 foot?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, so a course of action needs to be determined, folks. Shall it be the cargo then? As much as it pains me to admit it, I think you're onto something there, miss.
What cargo do you have?
Yeah.
Just be real with us.
Can we just throw the cook overboard? He doesn't like me.
Well, let's throw the inanimate cargo overboard first, and then if it comes to it, we can consider the fate of old Billy later, alright? Don't tell him I said
Billy!
well, Mr. Torex, we have a great variety of cargo on board. We have some jewelry which was to be sold in Vistron. We have some perishable goods such as rice and barley and those sort of staples. We have actual staples. We have.
I feel like that's the case.
Like paper staples.
Well, I think
Oh yes, paper staples. The gnomes go crazy for them.
I think we should probably consider what is the heaviest and least valuable.
I think the ratio of value to weight is the least with the rice and the barley to begin with. So perhaps we should get that overboard quick smart.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Perhaps even some tea, although that sounds slightly controversial. I imagine some people would be mad if you were to throw tea into the ocean, but I can't imagine why.
If those people are mad, we can tell them you're next.
so. Let's chuck it.
You're essentially making the ocean into one big teacup. So if you'd like
a bit
tea,
of cold tea.
if you'd like
Very
tea, then
salty tea.
I heard some people like it salty.
Ooh.
Well, down in the south of Erytham, they've got strange ideas about things, the sorcerers there are strange folk, wearing leather hats and boots and all that sort of thing. It's,
That's weird.
yes.
I've read about that.
Friendly folk, nonetheless, but strange. Right, then, well, I think it's in our best interest to get down there quick smart and be throwing the rice and barley overboard. Okay. So you guys go downstairs, and with the help of the rest of the crew, those who aren't, essentially maintaining kind of the course you guys are going and shifting the sails as they go, you guys can start hauling things upstairs and throwing them overboard. Yes.
I, as we're doing that, I go, because obviously Felix cannot help at all.
He just is looking around, just being
Well, I mean,
cheerful.
Felix is a.
They can potentially get
what's your
some
strength
small.
like, Felix?
0?
But like,
At least it's not negative.
it's average, so you can still help out. I mean,
He carries like the little stuff that people.
Felix is a sturdy boy. Having to haul around all of his natural weight, he's used to hauling. You know what I mean?
I think I say as I go up to him.
So is it because of it about him being a bard, or it's race that he's able to sense magic?
That's a racial trait.
Right.
From
So I go up to him and says, you were able to find that chocolate pretty quickly. What do you think about maybe seeing if you can find anything else down
More chocolate?
here? Even better.
In the meantime, you guys give me athletics checks to see how quickly you guys can just start hauling things overboard.
Me as well?
Unless you can either feel like you can choose to help with getting things overboard, or you can choose to investigate the thing that Torax told you.
I'm gonna look for some magical things.
Okay, sure.
Like
10.
toys.
A 10, and Althea, what did you get?
14.
14,
I'm
correct.
looking for toys.
You're looking for toys? Or are you just trying to sense anything?
Sense
that's
any magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Looking
Yes.
for magical toys.
Magical
Set for
toys.
magic.
Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, you guys, with the help of the rest of the crew, start hauling things up, and you've got a decent rhythm. You start hauling things overboard. After a while, the captain asks, he asks Rick to try to measure the speed again. Rick does his routine, measures, stops the thing, and he reports that you guys are now going at 8.5 knots. the bow is digging in quite significantly, so the ship is kind of being thrown up against the waves. It's quite difficult for you guys to maintain, especially you guys don't have your sea legs. Althea's been on board for over a week, but yeah, you guys managed to get this stuff thrown overboard. Just crates of things. There's rice spilling out everywhere. There's some tea that's kind of staining the ocean. A nice.
Well, I think I'd go and ask Jack to see if you were to go up to see if he can check how far they are with another hour or half an hour to see if there's a distance between us or not. If it's shorter, the same, or more.
Sure. So Jack, he doesn't climb up to the
He
top.
has to be able to see them.
He's just going to stay on the bow, and kind of with the waves dipping, he loses track of them, but it's not worth it being on top of the crow's nest at the moment with how the ship is swaying around. And he keeps an eye on them and does his best to. They've got little, he's got a looking glass that has markings on it, so you can measure
you can roughly
from the top of the ship to the bottom, and then you can use that to sort of estimate. So he's going to use that to see if it comes closer or further, or how you guys are going. Felix, you're downstairs. Everyone's going crazy, hauling stuff around, and you've got your little Pink Panther detective hat on.
Oh, do I get the big magnifying glass?
I do not doubt that Felix has a very expensive magnifying glass.
Nice.
Looking through it, his entire face is just grotesquely enlarged.
Just a massive eye.
Whiskers akimbo. Okay, give me an investigation check.
Well, that is a 6.
You can sense that there is something else that is has a reasonable power, a reasonable amount of sort of innate magic imbued within it, but you can't seem to find an entrance to where that would be. You've been on the ship for 2.5 months, and you only now really realize that there's a section of the ship that seems like you should be able to get there. But it's not, there's no doorway or anything, it cuts shorter than it should. If you look at from the top of the deck and then the bottom, you're like, there should be more space there. But with that investigation check, you're not sure how to get there. But you can sense that there's something magical down there.
Okay.
Cool. Back up deck, chaos. Everyone's going crazy, just hauling stuff as fast as they can. And after losing as much as they can afford to without, voiding the whole journey, Jack reports back and he says, Captain, they've lowered their own gallant sails and they're on the chase. Also, some other bad news. There aren't just 2 ships anymore. There are 4 of them, Captain. I'm going to make some rolls for the chasing ships to see how they've managed to kind of secure their rigging and if any of them do damage by lowering their top sails. Okay, you see one of the ships has, you didn't see this occur, but essentially what happened is they lowered those topmost sails, which are right at the top, and those sails being so much higher than the rest of them, just the torque and the force of those requires extra bracing from the rigging and the lines going up there, so you've got to readjust everything in strong winds. And they didn't manage to do that successfully. Their crew wasn't well oiled enough, I guess, and some of the sails have broken off, their mast looks a bit askew, and you see that ship has dropped behind. The other 3 are all speeding towards you guys and closing.
I can just imagine the people on that last ship, desperately hugging the mast. Just please don't fall over.
If they do that, they will for sure be crushed by the mast if it falls over. Those things weigh tons of just solid wood.
That's impressive, actually.
Yeah.
That it can be that big.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll probably finish the episode there with you guys just hauling ass, trying to get the ship as light as possible, and those ships chasing you. So I think, we'll end the episode there, And then next episode, we'll see the fate of the Osprey and her crew. Guys, you can follow us on Instagram. Just search at Erithum. That's ERRITHUM.
Or you can send us an email at erithum.podcast@gmail.com. And if you want to leave your review, Apple Podcasts is the best place to do so.
Otherwise, just favorite or subscribe or like or whatever is relevant to the medium on which you're listening to this podcast.
Cool. See you again next week.